What if I told you your plan B was preparing you to fail? For so many years, I always thought you needed a plan B just in case plan A didn't work. But this is the wrong mindset, especially when you're trying to be successful. Because when you have a plan B, you're telling your brain plan A isn't that important. And if things don't work, it doesn't matter. So you don't go all in on trying to make things work. I know this because 15 years ago, I set up my first business, Kataro Clothing. Now, I made a lot of mistakes in that business. I wasted a lot of money on journeys to London, buying stock that I don't need, building a website for £5,000. But one of the biggest mistakes I made was doing this alongside my degree. Now, this wasn't some side hustle where I invested a couple of £100 where I was buying things and selling it. I actually went to the bank to get a £15,000 loan because I thought this was going to be my escape from university. I was going to become a millionaire. I already planned what car I was going to buy, where I was going to go on holiday, how I was going to live my life. But I didn't plan what was going to happen next. Once I set up the website, after a week, no sales. After a month, no sales. After 3 months, I didn't get no sales. I was investing money into AdWords. I had loads of stock in my room, but I was getting nowhere. Things got that bad, I threw my stock in my little silver Honda Civic and drove to every store in Bolton, trying to sell my excess stock. After being rejected from every store, I finally landed on drop shipping. Things started to work, but that came with its own problems. I was getting complaints from customers weren't getting their stock. I just had enough of that business. In the back of my mind, I always thought if this business doesn't work, I can just qualify and get a job in the hospital. But this stopped me from really pushing myself and making this business work. When I discovered dropshipping, sales started to come in, but things got tough. And instead of pushing through and trying to make that business work, I chose the easier option, quitting and going for plan B. Now, I made a lot of mistakes with that business. I took a £15,000 loan. I wasted money on things I didn't need. I ended up doing everything wrong. But the biggest mistake I made was having that plan B and thinking I can always fall back on my degree. And as soon as things got tough, I just ended up quitting and focusing on that. So if you're planning to do something and you have a plan B, all you're doing is telling your brain that if plan A doesn't work, it doesn't matter. And this will stop you from pushing when things get really tough. Why would you want to put yourself through the pain and the effort when you've already got another plan in place? For me, every month I was being reminded of my failures and my mistakes when I had to make my £300 loan repayment to the bank. So when I saw that opportunity of getting a job in the hospital, I would have been able to repay the bank. I would have had extra money to start enjoying life. So I chose the easier option. Now, if that option wasn't there, could I have made my business work? Like I mentioned earlier, just before quitting my business, I discovered dropshipping, but it wasn't going well. Now I had two options. Plan A, continue with the business, try making dropshipping work, or take plan B, choose the easier option and start earning money straight away. Obviously, I chose plan B. But just imagine if I stuck with plan A. You've seen online how much money people have made by doing drop shipping. And I discovered this 15 years ago. I didn't realize what I'd discovered, but I discovered it. But instead, I chose the easier option. Now, if I didn't have the hospital job, maybe I would have continued with that and I could have made that work. I could have earned more than 25k a month. But things got even worse. Instead of seeing plan B for what it was, a thing that stops you from pushing yourself to the limits, I saw it as a savior because my plan B helped me to make those loan repayments and save me when things got difficult. So for the next 10 years, I thought having a plan B was critical to your success. Furthermore, every time a business failed, I fall back to working in the hospital, which reinforced the idea of having a plan B was a good thing. when it was actually the worst thing. My plan B mindset created a quitter mentality. Therefore, whenever things got difficult, I just ended up quitting and going back to working in the hospital. I can give you so many examples from my life that how having a plan B can hold you back. But it's not only me who says this. Research has shown that when you have a plan B, you never make plan A work. Therefore, plan B is one of the worst things you can have when you're trying to be successful and achieve the things that you want. That's why I've got rid of my plan B. I'm going all in on plan A, and there is no option but to succeed. And I quite like this. Just by speaking like this to you guys is giving me an absolute high. I want to succeed so bad that I've got rid of my plan B. There is no other option but to succeed on this new journey. By only having one plan and the mission to succeed, I'm pushing myself harder, I'm more focused, I'm making the right sacrifices, I'm feeling the right pressure, which is making me turn up on the days I don't want to. Instead of having a plan B, why don't you take these steps to ensure you succeed on the next thing you do? Number 1, research and learn. Instead of jumping straight in like I did on my first business, I thought I knew it all. I didn't do much research and I didn't bother to learn. And it cost me £15,000 and I ended up wasting 2 years of my life. Okay, looking back, there was valuable experiences in that. But I could have saved myself a lot of time and a lot of money, and I could have just done a little bit of research so I didn't end up making simple mistakes. So spend as much time as you need to do as much research as possible and learn as much as you can. By spending a few months researching, you will save yourself years of heartache and failures. So be willing to learn as much as you can, but also be willing to adapt and change to make your business work. If you can do this, you will succeed and you won't need a plan B. Number 2, learn from previous mistakes. Sometimes we can end up making the same mistakes over and over again. That's why take some time to look at your life, see where you made mistakes previously and see why you made those mistakes and learn from them. If you continue to make the same mistakes, you will not progress in life. That's why you have to take some time to learn from your previous mistakes. Number 3, get mentally, physically, and financially prepared. When you do something new, you're going to come across difficulties. Things are going to get tough. Things are not going to go your way. That's why you have to get mentally prepared and tell yourself things like this are going to happen. But this is something you have to go through to achieve the things that you want. But also remind yourself when these moments happen, you can work through it. And when you do, you will be able to achieve the things that you want. Make sure you look after your physical health because it will help you to work longer and harder than everyone else. The next thing you need to do is make sure you've got your finances in order. Make sure you start saving your money if you want to go all in on your new venture. Don't waste money on things you don't need. When I set up my first business, I was taking first-class train rides to London. If you can be smart with your money, you can make your money stretch a lot further so you can continue to work on your business, your venture, or the thing you're trying to make successful. And finally, you need to have the right mindset. That's why I recommend you checking this video out straight away.